Okay. Hello, everyone in the webcast audience. I think I see people joining as I'm speaking. So, but for everybody that's already on, hello and welcome. I'm Terry Maggedy, chair of the Elder Law Committee of the Trust and Estates section of the Beverly Hills Bar Association. And the first thing I do is thank our sponsors, because that shows the appreciation for the people who let us do this and provide all that background and financing and everything else that goes into putting together these programs. Our first sponsor, which we'll see on the screen in a minute, I think, Sanborn team, right? So first, thank you, Nancy Sanborn and the Sanborn team, real estate brokers who specialize in the areas we deal with: trusts, estates, conservatorships, sales involving older people, people with disabilities. Thank you, Nancy and the Sanborn team, for being our sponsors. And our next sponsor, another terrific broker, Orit Gadish, is here in person via Zoom to introduce herself. Orit?
Thanks so much, Terry. For those of you who act as administrators or executors of an estate or as trustees, please check out my blog. I have 3 new interesting posts about how to handle difficult situations. My latest posts discuss handling squatters, relocating occupants, and handling a property trash out and cleanup. The link to my blog is in the chat box. Hi, everyone. I'm Orit Gadish, broker and owner of Geffen Real Estate. We're a full-service firm. Not only do we help you with partial or full renovations, but we offer outside-the-box solutions for the difficult situations you may encounter when trying to sell real estate. I'm also an update author for CEB and the author of the Practitioner's Handbook for Probate Real Estate, which is available on Amazon. You can check out the 5-star reviews on Amazon, and if you're interested in a complimentary copy, text me now at 323-606-1919. Enjoy your program, and back to you, Terry.
Thanks, Orit. Our next sponsor is Glen Oaks Escrow. You're going to see Glen Oaks on the screen in a moment. There they are. They're meaning Glen Oaks Escrow and Marcine Klein, an escrow company who also, like all of our sponsors, deals with the areas that we work in. Escrows for conservatorships, probates, estates, trusts, older people, all the specialized stuff that we get into in our field. So thank you, Marcine and Glen Oaks Escrow. Our next sponsor, California Title Company, another player in our industry, a title company who works in probates, trusts, conservatorships, fiduciaries, title issues relating to older people. Again, all the things that we do as elder law attorneys and other fiduciaries and professionals. Thank you, California Title Company. And our next sponsor, Manufacturers Bank. I repeat it every time, but I guess it's worth repeating because that's what these folks do. This is a bank that also works in our area: conservatorships, trust, fiduciaries. Thank you very much, Manufacturers Bank, for also being our sponsor. And the next item of business is to announce the program coming up, which is very much of a companion piece to this program. It's on the final rule. And if you don't know what the final rule is, because that is a pretty heavy duty title, right, with a lot of gravitas, the final rule that's going into effect next year. I think it's next year. Oh, yeah. Look at how time flies by. March 17, 2023. If you out there in the audience, all those participants, don't know what the final rule is, you definitely should. So tune into our next program, and that's going to be August 25th. Title: The HCBS Final Rule and its Game-Changing Effect on In-Home Programs and Assisted Living Facilities. And our speaker is going to be Brittany Trujillo, from senior consultant from the Public Consulting Group. That's the consultant who agencies and states all over the country have been hiring to guide them through this whole process of implementing the final rule. It's a big deal. So tune in on August 25th to hear more about it. And now our speaker today, I don't need to look at a bio. I just need to speak from experience. I've been fortunate enough to work with Karen, to talk on the phone with Karen, to be involved with Karen, on behalf of consumers who get the help that Karen provides with JFS and the assisted living waiver. The way Karen cares about people, it's wonderful, Karen. I get the opportunity to say that to you right now, not quite in person, but over Zoom. So it really is wonderful. And it's a great thing. And we're fortunate to hear from her about the assisted living waiver and to educate everyone in the Zoom audience about the program. And I'm going to turn it over to Karen now until maybe a little before 1:30, and we will have time at the end to take questions. But now, Karen, you're on.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. And I want to introduce myself. My name is Karen Hess, and I am a clinical social worker, licensed clinical social worker, and I have been working with Jewish Family Service of Los Angeles for 30 years. I'm aging myself some by telling you that, but it's a long career. So yes, I have a lot to talk to you about regarding the assisted living waiver program. A lot of my talk is about social service issues, so you're not usually my audience, but anyway, we will be taking questions along the way. We'll get to them at the end, so here we go. Okay, can everybody see the screen clearly?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay, good. So again, welcome. I'm going to talk about the Assisted Living Waiver Program, better known as the ALWP program. So I'm going to start briefly to tell you about the history of the development of ALWP. It started as a 3-year demonstration project in 2000. It was Assembly Bill number 499, part of the statutes of 2000 of the Medicaid Home and Community-Based Services Waiver. So the first actual waiver that was approved by CMS was in 2009, and it lasted till 2013, and it was renewed every 5 years thereafter. So a big change happened this year in July of 2021. We received approval by CMS for a 7,000 slot expansion. And this is a big deal because we've had a waiting list for 2.5 years. And this will enable our waiting list people to get onto the program. So we began enrolling people off of our wait list in 2022 in January, but we were able to start actually officially seeing them for the assessments in July of 21, and they were approved retroactively. So just to let you know that we are one of many coordinating care agencies for the County of Los Angeles. There are many coordinating care agencies for the ALWP. In order to provide this service, we are required to be an agency registered as a coordinating care agency. We're the only agency, one of the agencies in LA, I should say, who can apply for the waiver program and to provide services. So So the main goals of the Assisted Living Waiver Program are to enable low-income and Medi-Cal eligible disabled persons who would otherwise need to be in a nursing facility and would be. But in this program, they're able to either relocate or to remain if they are fortunate to be in one, but paying privately, into an assisted living, or there are a few public subsidized housing settings that we work with, and the ALWP provides services through another organization for these clients in the subsidized housing buildings. Just quickly to let you know that these buildings are located throughout LA County. They are in Beverly Hills, Van Nuys, Woodland Hills, downtown LA, and the Antelope Valley in Valencia and Lancaster. And I can give you more information about how we provide these services with our partner provider, Libertana Home Care. But now back to the assisted living, which is more what I'm going to talk about today. So the main goals, as I said, are to help people to maintain more independence in their living environment. Eligibility. So in terms of eligibility, there's three main factors that we have to consider. We have to do a determination of their care needs. This is done by our registered nurse. We employ registered nurses and social workers. And it's done at the time of their initial assessment. So in addition to meeting this level of care criteria, participants must be at least 21 years of age and have Medi-Cal. We are able to help people to process Medi-Cal problems like share of cost issues, and they can be on our wait list while they are pending approval, which I'll talk to you more about the wait list in a little bit, but it's the opening of the program with the 7,000 slots has enabled us to pare down the wait list a bit, and now it's only approximately 6 months if you live in the community and you're on our wait list. So the benefits of the care coordination agency services are, I will discuss with you simply that it's because we are responsible to screen, evaluate, and submit all the applications to the Department of Healthcare Services. And as I said, only a CCA can assist applicants to help with successful transitions. We know many of the approved facilities in the whole LA County area. We know the management of the facilities. We know which ones, in our opinion, are good matches for our clients, provide, some provide better care, others, and they might not look so great, but others are prettier and, they don't communicate as well with us. So we know we have their number. We know all about them, and we help people to choose in that way. So our ALW team, our staff consists of 4 registered nurses and 3 social workers. And of our staff, we have 4 languages spoken in addition to English. We have Korean, Farsi, Armenian, and Spanish. And we use mostly all those languages with our clients. The nurses see the client for the initial assessment as discussed earlier, and they also continue to see them for reassessment visits every 6 months. The purpose of this is to make sure that the clients are still meeting eligibility based on their care needs, to review changes that have occurred in the past 6 months, and to update their care plan that we do with them every 6 months or more, depending on what their healthcare, social, and functional needs are. Our social workers, on the other hand, see the client very often. They see them once a month in a facility. So they're really the ones that know most about the clients, are familiar with, what goes on with them day to day, have the rapport with them, the relationship. Our clients know our social workers very well, and they depend on them to help with many issues. So ALW Services. So besides doing an individualized care plan and ongoing monitoring, which is our role, the services that are provided to the ALW participants are the ones that are provided mostly through the ALWP facilities. They provide personal care and assistance with activities of daily living, laundry, housekeeping, meals and snacks, assistance with taking medicines, providing or coordinating transportation, and providing recreational activities. So, you'll notice that I skipped one, which is providing intermittent skilled nursing care. This is not provided by the facilities. It's provided through an outside home health organization based on need and with a doctor's order. So for example, from time to time, clients might need a home health service to come in and do wound care. If a client cuts themselves, falls, and they have a bruise or an abrasion and it becomes infected, the doctor might order for a specialized wound care nurse to come in and dress it to make sure to watch it, that it doesn't become infected. Another reason for a wound care nurse is if a participant is staying in bed a lot, although we hope this never happens, they could develop some sores, and then wound care nurse would come in and take care of this. They could also do things like checking blood sugar, doing injections, insulin injections once a day. So this is a service that is covered under Medicare, not Medi-Cal. So ALW referrals. So you can see by this diagram that the referral process is based on 3 major streams of referrals that come into us. For each of these streams, we still have to determine their level of care eligibility first. And that is what I was discussing earlier, to make sure that their activities of daily living they have a deficit which equals what they would get in a skilled nursing facility, because this is why Medi-Cal is paying for them to come into our program. So if the people come in from a community referral, unfortunately, at this time, they need to be placed on a wait list with the state of California Department of Healthcare Services. It varies from time to time how long the wait is. Luckily, right now, our wait is only about 6 months. So next category is a skilled nursing facility referral. We have a lot of clients who are referred to us directly from skilled nursing facilities. And there's various reasons for this, but I think the main one is that Most people would prefer not to be in a skilled nursing facility if they don't have to. And this enables them to leave a skilled nursing facility, but still get the type of services that they need. So assuming they're eligible, our RN can really pretty much automatically go out to assess them for eligibility and then proceed with filing the application. Because of this quick turnaround, it's a very popular way for people to make referrals to us. And it's very helpful to the SNF and to the clients. Alternatively, if a hospital client is referred to us, and at times they are referred directly from the hospital, sometimes veterans are referred to us directly from the hospital because they don't really always meet the actual skilled nursing criteria, but they have mental issues that make them eligible. And we can see them in the hospital and then start their application. So the third category of how we get a referral is kind of an expedited priority referral, because it involves making a report to the Adult Protective Services program of LA County. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, Adult Protective Services is the organization that's charged with investigating abuse, physical, mental, financial neglect, self-neglect, and really we have people who just aren't located in a safe environment in meeting their daily needs. So if we make an APS referral, or there already has been an APS referral, we are able to get documentation of the involvement, and then we can submit this to the Department of Healthcare Services, and they will automatically release that person to us to start an application. So I'm going to divert for a moment from our slide process to talk to you about a specific example of a client who was in need of an Adult Protective Service referral. He was not referred to us by Adult Protective Services. He was on a wait list for 2.5 years. And this was partly because we, were not aware of his situation. Otherwise, we would have made an Adult Protective Service probably earlier, but be that as it may, my nurse was assigned a case of a 69-year-old male living on a 24-foot sailboat. The boat was approximately 1,000 square feet, and the ceiling height was only about 5'4". So needless to say, he, even not being a tall man, could barely stand up. He is, walking around hunched over. It was extremely difficult for him to leave the boat. He says that he left 3 times in 10 years that he's lived on the boat. Even though he's an alert and oriented man, he suffers from end-stage COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which makes him very short of breath on exertion, and he needs to use oxygen 24 hours a day. So this, combined with the fact that he has no shower, he has water pumped in like every 4 days that he uses with wipes to clean himself. He uses a toaster oven and, prepares easy snacks. He has a refrigerator, but obviously he's very limited in his daily life. So my nurse assessed all of his activities of daily living, and they discussed what's involved in the waiver referral process. And of course, they discussed that she felt like he was at risk. And we needed to report this to LA County Adult Protective Service, and that she felt that he should go to a nursing home and wait out the couple of months that it will take for him to get enrolled in the program. He was adamant he did not want to go to a skilled nursing facility. And so we made a report, and it turns out that the report, there is a son who helps him with his money, but had not been onto this boat, obviously had been in contact through video, but apparently didn't know the seriousness of the situation. So through a combination of our great assessment skills and our nurses' rapport with him, 3 weeks later, this man agreed to go to a skilled nursing facility. The son was very happy to be able to pack up that boat and get rid of it. And he's now awaiting the processing of his application. So that was a big success story for us. We help a lot of people in serious situations, as you can imagine. At this point, I can open up to questions. I have a few frequently asked questions that are on my slides. If you would like to hear my questions, or I don't know if right now you'd rather just.
We could
ask
do both. Either maybe we'll start with, I'm just looking at how many questions you have there.
There's four.
Or, you know, maybe it's probably good for your four. Then we've got one, and then I always have questions. So I'll pop off and let you use your slide, and then I'll pop back on at the end, and then we'll take our first question, and plus if there are any more too.
Okay, so a frequently asked question is, how long will it take to process my application? And what does that mean in terms of moving actually into a facility? So the process of submitting the application after the assessment usually only takes about 3 weeks total to gather all of the information forms that we need to send into the Department of Healthcare Service. But what takes a long time after that is the Department of Healthcare Service processing. They are backlogged, especially since we were allowed to submit names from our wait list. And it's taking them anywhere between 5 to 9 weeks to process one application. Once they process the application and they say that it is pended for approval, the person is able to move into a facility and Medi-Cal can be billed. So that's a long answer, but anywhere between 8 to 10 weeks is how long it takes. So often I'm asked, once I moved into a facility, if I don't like it, can I change facilities if it's not a good fit for me? And the answer is, of course. People are allowed to move around to facilities as often as they like. We try to discourage them from moving after their initial placement for at least a 1 to 3 month period, because we feel like it enables us to get services set up for them, the facility to put in place the services that they are needing, do a room change if their roommate is not a person that they're compatible with. And let's face it, it's a big adjustment to moving into an unfamiliar environment. So from a clinical perspective, we feel like it's best if they wait. But if it's necessary, we will do it after a month, but we prefer to wait 3 months, and then we will more than gladly help them find a new placement. So people also have questions and concerns, and this has to do with disenrollment from our program, which after 30 days of being out of the facility in a hospital, clients are still able to return back to their facility with, their bed being held and no charge. If they are in the skilled nursing facility more than 30 days, from 31 to 60 days, they have to be re-enrolled by our nurse with an assessment. So we send our nurse out to the skilled nursing facility to do the assessment before they return back. And this is a very important part of the requirements for the program, because unfortunately the slots are so tight that if anyone stays out of the facility for more than 60 days, they will unfortunately have to be disenrolled and go on the back of the community wait list. Because right now we are able to enroll people from skilled nursing, and this is kind of a gray area, but clients have been permitted to be in a skilled nursing facility for longer periods of time than 60 days with approval from the state because of the COVID emergency period. During the COVID emergency period, obviously, we have had a lot of clients that were impacted, a lot of clients that had to go to the hospital and then to nursing homes to recuperate. And they sometimes have to remain in the nursing home longer than they would normally stay. And they, because of these COVID emergency guidelines, are able to then come back with appropriate documentation. So the last question has to do with a bed hold, meaning if the clients have to pay for their bed hold if they remain in the hospital or a nursing home. So they do not, within 30 days of being out of the facility, they can keep their belongings there, and the facilities are not allowed to charge them. After that, it's pretty individualized based on the facility and whether they are willing to hold the bed or they insist on a deposit of a month's rent to keep the bed. It just really depends on the facility. And of course, we help them advocate for to not have to pay if it's possible, but sometimes it's beyond our control. So with that,
I think we'll pop over to some questions that we have. We'll go in order. First one is, this one sounds like it's really asking you about another agency from another part of JFS, which is fine. Does JFS provide or facilitate care providers for home care that are not part of the ALW? And that's really asking about another program from JFS, but Karen, you're free to respond to that one.
okay, so it really depends on what kind of providers we're talking about in terms of the cost. JFS does have a provider partner that's not specifically part of our agency, but it's an arm called JFS Care. And they do have aides for hire, and they are very excellent in assisting people with finding licensed, bonded, screened providers to come into homes.
Okay, and the next question is, do you have 7,000 beds available through your partners to place the new 7,000 open slots, or is there a shortage of assisted living facility beds? That's an interesting question. Karen, What do you think?
Well, I can't say exactly, but just to make it clear, the 7,000 beds are spread all over California. And, we're not like right now, we have about 6,000 people, 6,500 people total on the program. So it's going to take us a while to ramp up. But my guess is no, we're far from being able to find beds for everyone. There are many new facilities just in the last few months opening up. But to be quite honest, the approval process for assisted living homes is quite rigorous and has been taking sometimes up to 2 years. So that's a problem that needs to be worked on at Department of Healthcare Service. But we also have these subsidized buildings that people can move into. And the assisted living waiver program is not part of the building per se. What we do is provide the services with our partner Libertana once they move into these buildings. So I don't know how many beds are available or rooms in the buildings, but I do know that there's long wait lists, especially in the city of Beverly Hills. There's a building at 225 Crescent, and you probably all know about it.
Yep.
Impossible to get into that building.
So now the next question is from Carol, who's a healthcare attorney. I'll just read it. Medi-Cal is monthly and Medicare is daily. What challenges or sub-issues do these differences present to the delivery of care to meet varying medical needs?
I'm not sure what the question is, because Medicare is an insurance program,
Right.
but it's a federal one, and Medi-Cal is a state insurance.
Right. Or maybe it's about the proration of it. I get Medi-Cal can be paid daily too. Is there any, I'll ask, do you run into any challenges in the coordination of Medicare and Medi-Cal from your vantage point? The coordination of care and insurance.
Well, we run into problems all the time, of course, with Medi-Cal. A lot of problems with people whose income is, within the guidelines of $1,500 a month or so that they can have going into an assisted living. But for some reason, Medi-Cal thinks that they still should have a share of cost, and they won't clear the share of cost from their from their eligibility screens. They're assigned a specific aid code. The aid code can't be changed often for months when they're waiting to get into a bed, and everything is done with the application. That's just one example.
Maybe it's a good one for a follow-up question. Oh, the next one is thank you, Terry, for coordinating. Thank you, Carol, for the question. But just as a follow-up question, maybe to clarify for that, does eligibility for the ALW require full scope Medi-Cal without any share of cost?
Yes.
So $1 of share of cost will not, there are planning opportunities to fix something like that, but you have to have no share of cost to get on the ALW program.
Correct. However, I have noticed that we have never had a $1 share of cost. I think the minimum I've ever seen is 20, but it's
you get around $1 to $20. You could, it's not a problem.
Exactly. But we do work with a lot of people who have share of costs, and we refer them for legal assistance because they cannot get approved. They need to buy an insurance policy to bring their medical costs down to the 1,500 income level.
So I'll ask, and by the way, I'll put, if anybody posts a question, we'll put your question priority over my own questions here, but I'll ask some questions for our discussion. You had mentioned Medi-Cal pending. Is the time when that someone gets involved with you for the waiting list? Do you have to be on Medi-Cal? And I'm comparing you to the in-home waiver where you don't. You can just get on the waiting list. But at what point do you have to be on Medi-Cal to get on your ALW waiting list?
Right.
Do you have to be on Medi-Cal with no share of cost to get on the ALW waiting list? And maybe I'll stop there before going on to the second part of the question.
All right, so let me take the first part. Yes, you are allowed to be Medi-Cal pending to get on the community wait list, because it is approximately at least 6 months. And during that time, we assume that you will get onto Medi-Cal. The second part of your question, though, about when you have to have Medi-Cal is really by the time the person is approved, which, because it takes so long for the DHCS to get them approved, they have quite a while to get the Medi-Cal squared away.
So if you, Karen, on the in-home community-based waiver, they don't say, are you pending, which pending sounds like you've got an application pending. You just get on the waiting list. For you guys, when you use the word pending, does that mean we want to make sure that you have an application that's been submitted to Department of Social Services? Correct. So that's a little different. It's a little more restrictive in that way.
Yeah.
The waiting list.
The reason why is, Terry, because the share of cost that you are allowed to have with in-home supportive service,
right?
They can meet that through their in-home supportive service provider monthly and still qualify to get the aid paid. But for us, we can't bill them, every month, depending on whether they meet their share of cost. It has to be clear cut, no share of cost.
Okay. Another question, let me see, no other questions yet. I'll keep my questions coming. So next, it's interesting, you mentioned Libertino and Tina and you, Libertana and you. What is my question is, what is the difference between Libertana and you? Like, is the first point of service? I know sometimes, when I'm involved in the ALW, I go to Libertano and say, please facilitate and take care of it. When they're doing that, do they come over to you guys and work with you guys? If you can help me distinguish between Libertano and you, other than for the subsidized housing program where you guys don't have the employees to provide that extra service.
Right.
Are you a CTT, if I got the acronym right? Are you a CTT
program? CCT program is specifically for people who are living in nursing homes to help them transition. And Libertana has that program and another one that I can talk about, but basically Libertana and Jewish Family Service of LA are both CCAs, and we're in competition. So
okay, so you're so at one hand your partners when we were talking about subsidized housing units, so that they could, you could refer to them, but in terms of an entry into the assisted living waiver program, you and Libertano are doing similar things.
Right.
You're a private company, you're a nonprofit, obviously other differences too, but you're doing similar things in that place, but you're not I always mess up the acronym, CTT. You're not a CTT.
Not a CCT. So in actuality, because Libertana is a home health agency,
right?
They have these dual roles, being a CCA and a provider of care. Obviously, they can't do both at the same time because it's a conflict of interest. So we in fact get referrals from Libertana where they have applied for a resident of subsidized housing, and then they can no longer serve them in that capacity, so they transfer them to us.
But do you, since you're not the CTT, when if you have a Medi-Cal card and you're in a skilled nursing facility, that's the ticket, I assume, for Libertano. For you guys, it's different. How does it? Because I assume they're paid as soon as they have the Medi-Cal card, and because through the CTT, they start getting paid for their services to get the person out in the quote unquote community, which would be an assisted living waiver facility. Correct. Is it the same with when you have someone in the hospital or skilled nursing facility and they come to JFS? Mm-hmm. What's the difference with you? Because you're not a CTT. I don't think you told me.
No, yeah. We're not. But at the same time, we can accept referrals directly from skilled nursing facilities. And if they make a referral to us, or if someone else, the skilled nursing facility makes a referral to us, we can act immediately to start the application.
So you can do it. Is there a distinguishing factor that you can't? Is there something that the CTT is that preventing you from doing something? The lack of the CTT designation or vendorship, or whatever.
It doesn't prevent us from doing anything, and I can't speak that knowledgeably about CCT, but I can tell you that because it's at one point when we were not allowed to enroll, Libertana was able to bill for services when they were working on the application.
Right.
We can only bill once the client's enrolled. So it's kind of
exactly. Right. Exactly.
Advantage for us, but that's
it. We've had those folks on too in the past, long time. So the people from Libertano. Next, on the physical qualifications, mm-hmm. it used to be that there was, people with dementia seem to be getting, in-home waivers, I know. Then at some point along the way, there was an obstacle to that. And I had heard they were like, oh, we need something physical before we get you onto the in-home waiver program. Could you help give us some guidelines about that criteria of the individual that's in your program is somehow would otherwise be eligible to be for skilled nursing? Care is a wrong word. The skilled nursing placement. Like, is it just dementia? Do you need to give us some guidelines on what the physical criteria would be?
So with someone with dementia, obviously, when their ability to, remember how to do their activities of daily living, remember to eat, remember to, take a bath, or they're, they have impaired judgment and they refuse to do their grooming, forget to take their medicines, or, for example, take too many medicines. So those would be the ways that you would, be able to qualify someone with dementia.
So really, there doesn't have to be a physical.
No, not at all.
No,
I mean,
no. Sometimes a long time ago, I know I've run into that problem with the in-home waiver, which I guess supposedly is supposed to have the same criteria, but
yeah, the in-home waiver, sometimes it's just the luck of the draw who you get as an eligibility worker, but in fact, if someone has dementia and they can't be left alone, that is the time when they should be getting the maximum hours. And this is a specialty of one of your colleagues, Beth Zedek. You probably know Kim Selfon. She was helping us a lot in the past with that kind of problem, getting IHSS to give more hours.
And let me just check, and I'll keep the questions coming, but I just want to double check if I've got more. Okay, no other questions here. How about think about.
I have another case that I can talk to you about.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. That'll give me, because I'm contemplating if the question I have like it's too technical almost to be of interest. But Bob, why don't you start with your other case? And then in the meantime, between the time you finish and the end of our program, either there'll be another question popping up or I'll have another question for you.
I'll talk to you about a case of that I had several years ago. It was a very sad case of a 62-year-old woman who was referred to me by her daughter, who, because she was 62, the daughter was in her 40s. Just, lovely, lovely daughter who was in severe distress because her mother had been, diagnosed with dementia, which progressed. And she was living alone, and she was on our wait list from 2018 in August. And by the time April of 2019 rolled around, the daughter was calling me and she said, Karen, my mother, she's still living alone, but she was going to daycare 3 times a week. And now she's refusing to go. She fired the caregiver who was coming in 60 hours a month. She's become verbally aggressive at times. And I have cameras around the house to look at her during the day, but she was an esthetician and she had to work to make a living. So we finally got an APS case filed, and we got her in for an interview. She came to our office with her mother, and her mother was very put together, and to look at her, you would say nothing's wrong. But once she opened her mouth, she could introduce herself. But after that, she had incoherent speech. She would talk to herself constantly. She did not remember when she was eating. And when she would overeat and binge. And occasionally when she was at home alone, the daughter said that she would literally throw garbage off of her patio onto the street. It was really serious. And as it happens, the client and the daughter were Persian, and so my Farsi speaking nurse was able to speak to both of them and really make a good connection. And we got her application submitted, and pretty soon after, the next month, we were able to get her admitted to an RCFE. The daughter still struggled, obviously, with so much guilt about placing her mother, but it was a relief for her. Unfortunately, it was going well for a while until COVID came, and then it was extremely difficult because she couldn't physically visit with her. She had to see her through a window, and it was tough again. But to me, that was another example of someone that we really helped by the ALW program. Oh, you're muted, Terry.
Thank you. Thank you. We have another question on the board, and then I'll ask some myself. Next question. The term waiver is used throughout, right? Being somewhat unfamiliar with the vernacular, what exactly is being waived?
Okay.
It's a common issue, common question.
So Medi-Cal does not normally pay for these type of services. So this is called a waiver because they waive the regular guidelines in order to pay for this care. There's other waivers. It's the same kind of thing. Multipurpose Senior Service Program is another waiver. And in those cases, they waive their regular guidelines to enable Medi-Cal to pay for, well, not only our agency to help them, but some purchase of care services, very similar to what is provided in assisted living. So that's what a waiver is.
I'll end with just a few here. I'll throw out a few questions for you at the end because I don't see anything else on the board here for our last few minutes. Is there a difference between the priority given to someone applying, coming to you for the waiver, between if you're in a hospital, skilled nursing, or APS? In my own mind, I always thought skilled nursing or hospital doesn't make any difference. I'm first learning about APS today. It's all the same in terms of the priority.
No, well, the way it works with hospital and skilled nursing, kind of the same, is that we don't have to add them to the wait list because they're not considered to be living in the community. They're not.
Right.
So that's how we get around the 6-month or whatever wait list for them. And the APS piece has always been in existence, that we were allowed to prioritize. It's just that, you know, obviously you have to have a legitimate case, and then you have to get the worker to do a letter on their letterhead and send it to Department of Healthcare Service. It takes about, you know, usually they're good if they get it in the same month. They'll get them released from the wait list on the next wait list day. We get releases every beginning of every month now. The 10th of every month, we get cases released from the wait list.
Does an individual need a Medi-Cal card before a JFS can become involved with them in terms of an APS report?
No.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting and nice. I guess one minute we're gonna squeeze every bit of information out of you, Karen, on our program. Last one. It's interesting you said the age range for the program. And let me just make sure I didn't get another question just now. Oh, it's just a thank you. You're welcome, Richard. The last question is young people. You know, there are many, you know, I think of the assisted living waiver, when I've been involved in it, it's always been for older people and people with dementia, mental illness, ages, you know, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Are there waivers? I mean, is the assisted living waiver work in some place for those folks? And what are the obstacles? Is it lack of facilities? Just address anything about that younger group that's hit with mental illness. And we're happy to, you know, hear anything you have on the subject.
Yeah, so younger people, yes, you know, age 21 and up. I don't think, although I may have had a referral of someone in their 20s, it was more that they had severe physical disabilities, like from a traumatic accident, and they needed so much care that they weren't appropriate. I couldn't find a place for them. But I have had many individuals in their 40s with mental illness such as bipolar disorder, that are not able to manage living independently. And right now, I have a 44-year-old in a nursing facility, in a assisted living, and believe me, it was not easy to find a place for him because of his age. But I was able to do it. And right now I have a client who was just referred to us. Fortunately, she already lives in a facility, so I don't have to worry about placing her.
Karen, well, we got a lot out of this. Boy, it was super informative. And I'm in the field, and I learned a tremendous amount. So I'm sure for all the other see the 54 folks that are out there listening. I'm sure everyone got a lot out of it. Thank you so much. It is so appreciated. And until next time, and everybody in the webcast audience, we'll plan to see you next month, hopefully, to hear about the final rule. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Beverly Hills Bar. Okay, bye-bye.